Think DC is just expensive? Wait until you see this. $4,800 a month just for a mortgage on a $900,000 home. Plus, nearly $1,000 just to own a car. And that's only the beginning. But what if I told you there are neighborhoods where your money goes way further? Today, I'm breaking down the real cost of living in DC in 2025 and where it's actually worth it. Let's get into it. All right, let's start with the big question. What does your money actually get in DC's housing market? Median home sales prices in popular neighborhoods range from about $650,000 all the way up to $1.2 million. And where the house is, that makes a huge difference. Here is where it gets interesting. Woodley Park is at the top with median prices around $1.5 million. Mount Pleasant is close behind with $1.2 million. But before we talk about the cheaper spots, let me show you what you get for those prices. In Capitol Hill, for about $700,000, you can get a charming 2-bedroom, 1-bath historic townhouse. It's around 1,000 square feet and has wood-burning fireplace, a renovated kitchen, and you're just a short walk from Eastern Market, Lincoln Park, and Capitol Hill Metro Station. That's the kind of character and location you're paying for. If you step up to around $800,000, neighborhoods like Navy Yard and the A Street Corridor, here's what you'll get. You'll find newer condos and renovated row homes, usually with 2 to 3 bedrooms and about 1,200 to 1,500 square feet. These areas have great restaurants, entertainment, and easy access to public transit, plus that fresh, modern vibe. And just wait until you hear about the daily expenses. Those might surprise you even more than the home prices. If your budget is close to $1 million, Shaw has renovated Victorian-style row houses with 3 to 4 bedrooms. You get modern features, but still keep the historic charm that makes DC special. And if you're looking at a $1.1 to $1.2 million, Mount Pleasant has bigger homes with fancy finishes, outdoor spaces, and prime spots near parks and cultural places. One important thing, the housing market in 2025 has been all over the place. Some neighborhoods are dropping in price while others are climbing. That means buyers who are willing to check out different areas could find some good deals. Now, for the more affordable options, Brooklyn's median price is around $800,000. Petworth is around $670,000. Columbia Heights is $650,000. And these are neighborhoods that are growing fast and changing a lot, which matters when you think about what you might have to give up later on. The main point? Being close to downtown, amenities, and metro stations drive up prices. In DC, every block counts. So you need to keep that in mind when you're deciding where to buy. And speaking of costs, next, we'll look at what happens after you buy a house. But first, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe if you haven't yet. I post new videos every week about what's really going on in the market, from the best neighborhoods to watch, to price trends, to new builds popping up around the city. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or just curious, you'll want to stick around. All right, now let's talk about the cost that comes after you buy the house. Because the price you pay up front, that's just the start. The monthly expenses that follow can really add up and hit your budget hard. First up, mortgage payments. Right now, mortgage rates in DC are about 7% for a 30-year fixed loan, and that's as of June 2025. So if you buy a $900,000 home and put 20% down, your monthly mortgage payment will be around $4,800. That's the biggest part of your housing costs right there. Next, property taxes in DC might actually surprise you in a good way. The rate is 85 cents per $100 of assessed value for homes, which is one of the lowest areas the DMV. For that $900,000 house, you pay about $7,600 a year, or $638 a month. Plus, DC has a homestead deduction that lowers the taxable value of your home. So you might pay the less. Then there are HOA fees, which average around $350 per month. But this can vary a lot depending on where you live and what your building has. For example, luxury buildings in places like DuPont Circle or Navy Yard can charge $500 to $800 a month because they have things like concierge services, rooftop pools, and gyms. This is where your costs really start to add up. And I'll break down full budget examples soon so you can see how it all stacks up. Now, utilities are another big one, and they're rising in 2025. Pepco, the electric company, raised rates by 17.7%, which adds about $30 to your monthly budget. On average, utilities, that's electricity, gas, water, and garbage, run about $208 a month, which is a bit higher than the national average. The internet will add about $64 to $68 a month, and home insurance for a $900,000 property costs around $100 a month. And don't forget maintenance. A good rule of thumb is to budget 1% of your home's values each year. So for $900,000, that's roughly $750 a month. Now, put it all together and your monthly costs beyond the mortgage gets pretty serious. This is something a lot of people don't realize when you first think about buying a home in DC. But housing costs are just one part of the story. Next, let's talk about getting around the city. Transportation costs are a big deal for people living in DC, and how you get around can really change your monthly budget. Let me break down the numbers so you can see what's going on. The Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, Metro, charges based on how far you travel. On weekdays, a one-way trip costs between $2.25 and $6.75. If you get a monthly unlimited pass, it costs anywhere from $72 to $216, depending on the fare cap you pick. So, for people who take Metro every day, monthly costs usually come to about $348 if they pay per ride. This includes parking at Metro stations, which is about $5 a day. Now, if you buy a monthly pass instead, you'd spend on average $150. But here's what's really wild. I'm going to show you exactly how much money DC residents are willing to spend on housing. We're talking 40 to 50% of their entire income. I'll get to that soon. Now, let's look at driving, and this is where costs add up fast. Parking in downtown areas can run $15 to $20 every day. Monthly garage prices cost between $250 to $350 depending on where you park. Gas is about $3.20 per gallon. Plus, your car loses value over time, which adds to the total cost. Here's the shocking part. When you add up gas, parking, car insurance, which is $200 a month for full coverage, maintenance, another $100, $200 a month, and depreciation, that's $390 a month, owning and driving a car costs about $1,000 or more each month. That's more than 3 times what you pay for Metro. But here's something that might change how you think about it. Even though the Metro saves you a lot of money, many people still choose to drive because it's more convenient, flexible, and sometimes faster. The choice often depends on how close you live to Metro stations, whether your workplace has parking, and if you prefer shorter commute times over saving money. How you get around affects more than just your budget. It changes your whole lifestyle in DC. Some neighborhoods are way more attractive if you can easily use Metro, while others pretty much require a car to get by. Next up, let's see how your daily spending adds up. Daily expenses in DC are way higher than the national average. We're talking about everything: your grocery runs, your meals out, even your weekend plans. Let's start with groceries. Prices in DC are about 6 to 16% higher than in most other places. A gallon of milk costs around $4.40. A loaf of bread, $4.11. A dozen eggs, $4.34. So yeah, the basics are more expensive here. If you're living on your own, you'll probably spend around $400 to $500 a month on groceries. A family of 4 expect to spend somewhere between $1,000 and $1,200 each month. You'll find stores like Whole Foods, Wegmans, Trader Joe's, Giant and Safeway, and prices can vary depending on where you shop. Now, let's talk about eating out. DC's food scene has something for every budget, but overall it's still pricey. Fast food runs around $10 to $15. A casual sit-down meal will cost you $16 to $40 per person. A nice dinner at a mid-range place, that could be $80 to $120 for 2 people with 3 courses. And if you're doing fine dining like one of the DC's Michelin-starred restaurants, it can cost more than $200 per person. Most people budget around $500 to $800 a month for eating out, depending on their income and how often they go out. Entertainment is also more expensive, about 12% higher than the national average. A gym membership usually runs around $110 a month. Movie tickets are about $17 each, and tickets for concerts, theaters, or other cultural events, those prices are all over the place. But here's the cool part, and we'll dig into this more later. DC has a ton of free entertainment. The Smithsonian Museums, the National Mall, and all kinds of events don't cost a dime. A lot of locals take full advantage of that, and it really helps balance out the higher costs in other areas. This is where smart DC residents really make their money work. Knowing which costs you can control and using the free stuff the city provides makes a big difference in how your monthly budget plays out. So, what does this all look like when you add it up? Let me walk you through some real life examples. Alright, let me walk you through 3 realistic budget examples so you can see what different income levels can actually afford in DC's housing market. First up, a single person buying a $635,000 home with 10% down. Their total monthly expenses come out to about $7,500. And get this, housing alone, and that's mortgage, taxes, maybe condo fees, utilities and maintenance, takes up $5,800 a month. That's 77% of their budget, just going to the house. And you know what's crazy? Even with numbers like this, people are still flocking to DC and saying it's the best investment they ever made. Wait until you hear the reasons why. But other big monthly expenses include groceries at $420, dining out at $500, transportation at $348, healthcare at $160, entertainment at $280, and personal stuff at $200. To live this way comfortably, they need to make about $120,000 a year before taxes. Now, let's look at a couple buying an $850,000 home with 15% down. Their monthly expenses jumps up to $9,700. Housing costs come in at $7,100. Add in $800 for groceries, $500 for dining out, $730 for transportation, $300 for healthcare, $560 for entertainment, and $400 for personal expenses. To make this lifestyle work, the couple needs a combined income of about $155,000 a year. That's way above DC's median household income of $93,000. Now, for a high-earning couple buying a $1.1 million home with 20% down, their monthly expenses reach $11,800 a month. Housing makes up 88% of that. On top of that, they're spending $1,000 on groceries, $800 dining out, $730 on transportation, $320 on healthcare, $560 on entertainment, and $400 on personal expenses. To afford this setup, they need to bring in about $190,000 per year before taxes, putting them in DC's higher earning tax bracket. These examples show something really important that most people don't think about when moving to DC. A lot of residents spend way more on housing than the usual 30% of income rule. We're talking 40 to 50% going towards mortgage payments alone. And that means they have to be extra careful about how they spend in other areas, which leads us straight into the trade-offs people made to live here. So here's the thing. Living in Washington, D.C. means making some big financial and lifestyle trade-offs, and the people here really have to weigh those sacrifices against the city's benefits. Let me show you what folks are often willing to give up to call DC home. First, a lot of residents settle for smaller spaces than they could afford in other cities. In the $700,000 to $1.2 million range, you're usually looking at condos or row homes, not huge single-family homes. Others choose to live further out in more affordable neighborhoods or nearby suburbs and deal with longer commutes to save on housing. Some homebuyers go for places that need fixing up just to get into the neighborhood they want. Others pick brand new homes in up-and-coming areas instead of established spots. It's a smart move if you're thinking long-term, but it definitely takes patience and extra money. The financial trade-offs are big. Lots of people in DC spend 40 to 50% of their income on housing, way more than the recommended 30%. That means cutting back on other parts of life like eating out less, traveling less, or watching every dollar that goes towards extras. Some families cut transportation costs by owning only one car, or no car at all. They rely on the metro, walking, biking, or ride shares. And to keep up financially, some people take on extra gigs, like consulting or running a small side business. But here's the thing, and this might surprise you, for a lot of people, all these sacrifices are worth it. Why? Because DC has career opportunities you can't get anywhere else. For professionals in government, policy, law, advocacy, Or big name nonprofits. Living in the capital is like investing in their future. They see the high cost of living as a trade-off for building their careers. And a lot of them say it's a decision that pays off in the long run. So, what exactly makes DC worth it? Let's get into that next. Even with all the costs and trade-offs, a lot of people feel like living in DC is totally worth it. Let me explain why. First off, the career opportunities are next level. If you're into government policy, international work, law, or nonprofit, this is the place to be. DC has one of the highest median household incomes in the country at $106,200. That's about 35% higher than the national average. It shows just how many high-paying jobs are based here. The networking scene is huge too. Tons of people move to DC just to make connections and grow their careers. There's this energy around the city, kind of like everyone's working towards something big. That kind of environment opens up paths to success that people say are worth the high cost of living. Then there's the culture. DC has world-class museums, many of them free, historic sites, and events from all over the world. The city's global vibe means you'll find all kinds of food, festivals, and diplomatic events, stuff you just don't get in most of the US cities. And let's not forget education. With top universities and loads of learning opportunities, both kids and adults can benefit from living in a place where knowledge is a big deal. DC is also built for people, not just cars. The walkable neighborhoods, great metro systems, and solid bike lanes mean you can get around without driving everywhere. Plus, there are parks, rivers, and even hiking spots nearby, so you can escape the city without going far. But maybe the biggest reason people stay? DC feels important. It's where history happens. It's where decisions are made that impact the whole world. Living here makes people feel connected to something bigger. That's the kind of value you can't measure in dollars. When people buy homes in DC, they're not just buying property, they're buying it to a lifestyle full of opportunity, culture, and meaning. And for many, that makes the sacrifices more than worth it. The bottom line, living in Washington, DC means making a serious financial commitment. Housing takes up a big share of most budgets, and when you add in transportation, food, utilities, and lifestyle costs, DC ranks as one of the most expensive cities in the country. Still, for many, the trade-offs are worth it. DC has top-tier opportunities, rich culture, great schools, and a lifestyle that's hard to match. Others made careful compromises like smaller homes or longer commutes to make it work. So now, you've got a solid picture of what it really takes to live well in DC, and which areas give you the best value based on your lifestyle and budget. Are you ready to take the plunge and move to DC in 2025? Let me be your guide. Shoot me an email to ryan@coalitionpg.com and let's take the first step together, because the real estate market doesn't wait too long. My subscribers get the best deals you can only find with me, so I can make it happen. And don't go just yet. Check out my next video, linked right here, where I show you exactly why you might still be wrong about DC. Think you've got it all figured out? Watch this and see why there's more to the story. If you're even a little curious, this one's for you. See you there.